Hi, John. How are you this week?
Good, Elliot. How you doing today?
I'm okay. So I thought it would be good for us to talk about the fact that January is National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. The FBI is certainly, along with many, many others, is working really hard to get the word out. More eyes are better. And I just wanted to get I know you've been involved in working to help some of the anti-human trafficking organizations get some visibility, and just wanted to chat about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, so the FBI, Homeland Security, a number of other agencies, like you mentioned, obviously have been active, and at the state level, which is great. The thing that drove our community to make this a more proactive space were bankers, really, and we've talked about this before, at the very local levels of their institution, sort of pushing from the bottom up, if you will, and saying to senior management, hey, there's things we can be doing here. And over the course of time, and I was fortunate when I was at ACAMS to work with a number of banks, we got really smart people that were doing analysis, connected with really smart people in the government. And as we've talked about before, they've come up with a series of typologies and red flag indicators and all of that. So, sadly, we have to make this month it's not a commemoration, of course. It's to remind us how important it is to be. This is a partnership, and I think this is just yet another example. And you alluded to it. One of the other groups that we've worked with, and there are more than one, obviously, is Polaris, and they've done a number of things in the financial space in addition to everything else they cover. So just the amount of people that are working on this issue, because they have to, is really important. But I think this is, like you say, a good time to remind people to do what you can in this space to deal with these horrific acts against humanity.
Yeah, rather than a call to action in the traditional sense, I think this is a call to renewed or continued action. And there's, there for those of our listeners who also tuned into our December webinar, they heard a lot about topologies and how to detect these kinds of this kind of activity. But I think anything that we as a AML community can be doing to keep our eyes and ears open and inform others, educate customers, make sure our frontline folks are watching for signs of people who are being coerced in a number of ways, possibly even in the lobbies of the organization, of the banks, or other institutions, I think is really important. I'd ask our listeners, if your organization or you personally are active on social media, this is a great cause to, put out to your circle of readers and watchers, so that we can get the word out even more widely. Because if we can get all those circles to increase their awareness, we can, over time, make a difference.
Right. And as you mentioned, we've done programming on this, and I know that Polaris has referenced the work that FinCEN has done in providing advisories in this area. So that's been pretty important to recognize. And one of the things that I remember our colleague Sarah Crow mentioning when we interviewed her is that during the pandemic, there was actually a spike in these activities for a whole host of reasons. So even more important, it's always an issue, but even more important to recognize that when other pressures occur, unfortunately, there are more and more victims, and the financial sector can do so much. So you're right. Jump on social media, make people aware of these things, and as we pick up new insights, offer them to one another so that we can file those reports, and we can do our best to report investigative information, but hopefully detect and prevent these activities.
Absolutely, and you and I'll continue to talk about this and to write and about it, and to find valuable sources to interview. So people should continue to look to AML RightSource as one of many sources for useful information.
Yeah, just a quick. I know we're done. We're out of time, but just a quick thing. As we are recording this, the House has voted to impeach President Trump a second time on a bipartisan vote. Obviously, it now goes to the Senate. This is an historic time. And referencing that, I'm going to sit down and do a podcast with our colleague Dennis Lormel sometime next week and talk about the recent activities that precipitated the reason for the impeachment in terms of domestic terrorism and what we can be doing as part of the community that deals with the financial footprint. So just to mention that is something to be looking ahead to. We will get to those issues in the next couple of weeks. But once again, go to the Polaris website. We have a lot of good things on our website on anti-trafficking. The UN's done some great work, FATF, FinCEN. There's a lot of good information out there. And so do what you can in your communities and elsewhere.
Sounds great. I will talk to you next week, John.
All right. Take care of yourself. Be safe.
You too. Bye-bye.
See ya.